The third fetter is the last part of the foundational identification. The first one was about identification with thought. Second one was about identification with feeling and emotions. And the third fetter is about all the diversions and distractions that we do not to get in contact with thought and with feeling, to avoid feeling those feelings and get in contact with those emotions. To avoid that, we do a lot of things. But the third fetter is also an identification on its own. It's who you believe you are that is expressed through your actions. So what you do or what you don't do is part of an identification on its own. If you are, like I said, one that have coffee in the morning or do not have coffee in the morning, if you're one that buy organic or do not buy organic, if you're one that buy fair trade or do not buy fair trade, if you go for a run to lose weight or you go for a run for the enjoyment, or if you meditate to become enlightened, if you eat certain things to lose weight or gain weight, if you avoid different people at different times of the day, if you every afternoon at 4 completely crash and shout at all the kids, all those things that you do in your everyday life are part of that diversion. It's part of that identification that you have with who you believe you are. And that is another part of why the third fetter is so important to look at as an identification module. Because if you just, pause the video right now and just reflect a bit. If you look around yourself, everything around you, it's things that you have bought, right? You have bought all of these things with a specific purpose. Either it was a diversion in the moment, you felt like shit, so that's why you went out and, did some retail therapy. You shopped your way through it. Or it was on sale and that's why you bought it, didn't really need it. Maybe you have things that you have inherited from people and it's really, really ugly, you utterly hate it, but you feel guilty about not having it in your home because it was my nan and she loved me so, no, she's dead, but she loved me so much and that's why I keep it on display, utterly hate it. Whatever you surround yourself with is part of that identification. You cannot point at a single thing around you that is not displaying the identification that you have with you, with who you are. That's why it's so exposing to invite people into your home, because everything you surround yourself with is a reflection of your identification, of who you identify with. And if you say, well, I don't identify with any of this, not at all, not a single thing, there's no identification at all. Okay, I would like for you to go out into your closet, pick, one pair of trousers, one shirt, what you need, for a week, and donate the rest. Or go to the kitchen and everything that is on the second and the third row in the cupboard, you just donate right away. Or books that you haven't read, or books that you have read, books that is not really, doing you any favor, self-help books that you read that just made you feel like crap, donate them. You can take everything, in the pile, the pile, the one I'm talking about, the pile that just seems to happen usually in a kitchen drawer or on the pile on a desk somewhere. That pile, you haven't looked at it for ages, just empty it. You can take the drawer in your house that is the least looked in drawer. There might be a drawer that you haven't even been in for years. You can take the entire content of that drawer and just toss it in the bin. Put it into a black sack, tie a knot on it, don't even look at it, and just toss it. You will never ever miss it. You feel that contraction that you have in your body right now? You feel that, but I can't do that. That's completely ridiculous. I need stuff in the second line of I haven't used it this year, the last year, the year before. I haven't used it since the pandemic. But I'm going to keep it. You can't ask me to do that. That's my nan's bowl. You can't ask me to do that. It's completely ridiculous. This. Great, amazing. Observe. This is the fetter that has its own type of identification, and you're not even aware. The type of identification that is in the third fetter is also a diversion on its own, about its own. Everything you surround yourself with is part of that maintaining of that identification that you're trying to see through. That's why it's super important to talk about. Super important to talk about. You cannot see through self unless you have really looked at everything that self identify with. You have people whose homes have burned down, and decades later they are still in bits about all the things they lost in the fire. We're talking about things. If you got all the humans and all the pets and all of that out of the house, you're fine. But the identification with all the things we surround ourselves with is part of that identification. And as long as you identify that much with that much, you can never ever see through self. The only thing that might stand between you and an awakening might be clearing out the attic or the basement or cupboards, And it's not that I'm telling you to do any of that. I just want you to reflect on it. You can just sit down, pause the video again, and just sit down and reflect on how it would feel if you go to the attic and everything, without any exception, all of it is emptied out, given to donation, out on the lawn. All of it is given to donation. People can just come and pick up. You're not charging anything. You're just giving it all away. Away. This is about your awakening. It's not about the price tag of things. And if you now are sitting right now in the comment section and writing about all the money you're giving away, well, identification again. Look into that. It's only about you becoming aware of the different levels of identification that is taking place. And this fetter is the one with all the diversions. So far, we're only a few minutes in. So far, you have been justifying a lot of identification, a lot of things that in your mind might not have done it out loud, but in your mind, you have been justifying your diet, your exercise routine, the things you surround yourself with, your attic. You have been identifying and defending a lot of that. Amazing. Super interesting. There you go. Write it down. Write all of it down. Because all of it is part of your awakening process. All of it, all those things that you don't want to let go of because it's a stick in a wheel. It's just a thought.